Welcome to Bots and Beyond, your weekly dose of all things automation, mixing up end user, vendor and consultant experience to create your go-to podcast for bot-related insights. I am your host, Wayne Butterfield.
Hi, and welcome back to Bots and Beyond. Again, another fantastic guest this week, and we're revisiting the conversational AI space once more. It continues to be bubbling and lots of conversations about this, the role that it plays. And obviously, enterprise, big and small, are starting to make some headway, which is, a great reason why it's, my pleasure to introduce Lucie Roach from BT today, who are on the journey. And I thought it would be fantastic to bring a real SME like Lucie on the podcast this week, so that she can talk about, the path that BT are taking, some of the choices that they're making, and also some of the challenges that Lucie's having to overcome working with this type of technology in a large organization. So it's my real pleasure to welcome Lucie.
Hi, Wayne. It's nice to be here.
And of course, we've had some great pre-conversations already, but for the rest of the audience, as is the usual intro opportunity now, if you can just tell us who you are, what you do, and more importantly, why you do it.
Yeah, of course. So I'm a senior product owner for BT, and I look after what we call digital contacts. So for both BT and EE. So my team is focused on kind of seamless, brilliant digital contacts. So the connection between customers on our website or our app and advisors, whether that's virtual or human. And as part of my role, we're investing in conversational AI, and we're on the journey of we started last year with one squad, and we're on a bit of a journey with it. And actually, it's super exciting. So the thing that attracted me to this role was just like the possibilities of the technology in terms of being able to transform the organization. And I mean, my passion is for building kind of digital products that really help our customers. And I think that the potential of conversational AI is just immense, really. So yeah, it's very exciting, and yeah, nice to talk to you about it today.
It's great. And having worked at BT myself and been in that telco space with O2 before, there are a lot of customers. There are tens of millions of them for you to help. So clearly, huge opportunity for conversational AI to do some good. In such a big organization, though, getting started is often a challenge in itself. So, what was the process for you guys getting going? What was the decisions that were made, and how did you start?
Yeah, sure. So, I started, I think it was last summer. This was a new assignment for me. And essentially, I was given an investment for one squad. And it was a blank sheet of paper, although there was an ambition that in return for that investment, we would deliver sales experiences. So drive sales via conversational AI. And I mean, where to start, right? So I think the first thing that we did was acknowledge that this is quite a specialist area, and we brought in, I think, a BA and an architect consultant who had deep experience in this area, and we worked together. So we set about, discovering what was the right use case to start with, but also kind of what does the architecture look like, and what's the platform that we've got to put in place. And so there was a good period of maybe 2 to 3 months of just discovery and trying to figure out how do we make this happen.
So I think it's really good for people to know how much preparation went into your kind of early thinking, right? And I guess that was all about laying solid foundations and making sure that what you were, I guess, creating was something that wasn't throwaway. So yeah. I think that definitely kind of comes across in the amount of effort and time that you were spending in that particular area. You kind of spoke about sales. and picking journeys. I mean, how did you go about that? I mean, was there a first journey that you picked? I mean, what was the process to go from, I don't know, if you speak to a live person, they'll say that there's probably only about 700 different intents globally. But
it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Like where to start. I mean, we're making headway with kind of putting in place analytics that will help us make those kind of decisions better in the future. But I'll be honest, we didn't have them for day one, and really it was just a bit of pragmatism, really. Like where can we start looking at the landscape of what we've got? And so we'd identified that messaging was going to be really helpful. So not all of our intents were on messaging, and also operational backing and support was going to be really helpful, because there's no point us building something if the operation don't want to support it. So we were able to identify ultimately at first it was just a little bit via what can we do to move, if that makes sense. But as we've evolved, we're able to start kind of making more holistic decisions and more data-led decisions.
I think that, again, one of the things that people don't necessarily think about when they think about conversational AI, actually, again, similar to other automation technologies, is also that data exhaust that you go in to get. Once you kind of open the floodgates and you start to understand customer intent, you're actually gaining a load of data as well that you don't necessarily have to start with. Thinking about our earlier conversation, and this made me chuckle, but I want you to talk to me a little bit about the Wizard of Oz and a bot called Susie.
Yeah, Susie bot. So we did a phase of discovery, and then we mobilised the fuller squad, and we had a lovely chap called Adam who we helicoptered in from the operation into the squad. So Adam was or is an expert in the particular intent that we'd chosen, and I think we all kind of acknowledge that this is brand new to us. And one of the principles that we always kind of adopt is, what's the minimum that you can do to get the maximum amount of learning? So how do you discover that you're building the right thing before you invest time and money in doing it? And we had the idea that, well, why don't we just have Adam pretend to be the chatbot? And so I think he spent a few days pretending to be a bot called Susie, just testing out our hypothesis and use case. And actually that was incredibly valuable, because we were able to learn a lot. We learned that customers were happy to interact with what we'd planned for the bot, and also we got some really valuable learnings that helped us iterate like really early on. So yeah, that was cool. I think and we called it Wizard of Oz, but I think it's something that we will continue to do. But as we put the platform and the tools in place, we've got other ways of doing rapid testing. But yeah, it was super useful to get started with.
I think it's really interesting. It's one of the things that I took away from our initial conversation. Yeah, that as a testing a bot, but as a person, really interesting way of again trying to get the maximum output for the minimum input. I think is a really interesting. Why bother designing your conversations up front if you could, in theory, see how they should flow naturally through a person? So, interesting take. I think there's absolute merit in that. It's certainly in the right scenario. So really, really useful. And obviously, this was right at the very start. This was towards the beginning of your the kind of engagement. You're in year 2 now. You mentioned one squad earlier. Talk to me a little bit about talk to me about the squad. Who, how big, who's involved, just so we can get a scale size, and then talk to me about, you're in year 2. What's happening next? Yeah,
for sure. So we have product owner, business analyst, architect, developers, testers, data scientists. I'm going to forget someone now, and the squad are going to listen to it and they're going to say I've forgotten them. We've got technical delivery managers. I can't think who have I missed. Architects. You get the idea. It's basically a full stack squad. So on paper, apart from the conversational analyst, so the NLP bit is different. But on paper, it more or less looks like a full stack dev squad that you might see for a website or an app. But obviously the skills are quite different and the expertise is different within it.
No, I think that really helps, for those that think that this is one guy in a cupboard type operation, and that you can potentially, certainly in large enterprise, get away with this, with doing it kind of with minimal people investment. I guess you're kind of absolutely showcasing that that's not the case.
Well, I mean, we've got tactical bots that we've built in a similar way that you've described, because obviously there's lots of, off-the-shelf tools that can help you do that. But I think it's really clear that we've got a future ambition to build, really intelligent bots with back-end integrations, and the architecture needs to be ready for the future. So we've taken quite a bit of time to make sure that we get that bit right. But yeah, and as we move into year 2, we've got more challenges beyond. So we started in year 1 with one squad that are essentially defining the use case that delivers value and then building the platform around that use case. But now some of the things that we're thinking about is how do we organize ourselves as we scale to more squads, all trying to drive their own use cases and their own point of view about value, and how do we kind of collectively organize ourselves to make sure that the platform bit is doing what it needs to, because it's now essentially it's got more customers.
How are you kind of proving the value then? What about targets? I know it's a bit of a grey area, and we've discussed this ourselves, but talk to me a little bit about what are the measures that you're looking at, and maybe some of the misconceptions around 100% containment, and what the reality is versus what people may believe is possible.
I think that the reality is to build an intelligent journey that can deliver end-to-end, fully automated. There's quite a bit to it. And so that is definitely the ambition, and it's what we're all working towards. But the first thing that we acknowledged is there's a lot of value to be had in the sort of low-hanging fruit along the way. So, there's a lot of value to be had in terms of bots that can assist advisors. How much value can we squeeze out of text-only bots? And so, there's been a lot of learning as we go along. And then the other thing that is that forecasting value obviously has an operational dependency, especially if we're creating value from bots that assist advisors. And so it's a bit like we can't always predict how many advisors will be on a specific intent at a specific point in time. Therefore, it's hard to project value, if that makes sense. So there's all sorts of different dynamics and different levers, and it's just been a new thing to learn, really, but it's fascinating.
Great, and you've spoken a couple of times about the operation, and I think one of the things you mentioned right near the start of the episode was around, gaining co-op or having cooperation with the operation. Talk to us a little bit about that setup of where you sit within BT versus BTEE, where you sit versus where I guess your internal customers are. The people who, in theory, you are adding value to. Talk to us a little bit about that, and then, what does that collaboration feel like? How are you getting their buy-in? Are they supportive? Any issues, challenges that you've had in that area?
Yeah, sure. So, generally everybody's been very supportive, and I think as we expand into year 2, we've got incredibly engaged, supportive stakeholders that want to see this go as fast as it can, which is great. But I think that the thing that we quite quickly acknowledged is digital can't do this on their own. So, it's for the kind of intelligent chatbots that we're trying to build, no matter how intelligent they are, they're always going to need an advisor to back them up. So the operational teams are a hugely important stakeholder. And I think that there's, it'd be quite easy, I think, to go off track, and digital operates in its own little bubble, and build something, and then the trading managers and the operational contacts sort of look at it and think, well, why have you done that? And so it'd be quite easy, I think, if you don't collaborate in the right way, and if we don't have the right people kind of helicoptered into the squad, it would be quite easy, I think, to build something that isn't quite right for various internal customers.
I mean, it feels like we've gone all around the houses during this episode. I think it was great to get your insights and to really understand some of the early lessons learned by yourself.
I mean, we're still quite early on. So the first squad only started sprinting, I think, end of September last year. So we're definitely still learning, and there's a lot that we still need to do to kind of realize the ambitions of this product. But yeah, it's an exciting journey to be on.
Excellent. No, and I'm sure yourself, the rest of the team, the ambition, the foundations that you're laying, that it's going to be a resounding success. And maybe what we should do is pencil in another episode in another 12 months when you can tell us how fantastic the bot is.
Oh, let's hope so. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much. Really do appreciate it, as I'm sure the listeners will do as well. Thank you for listening to Bots and Beyond this week. Thank you, Lucie, for being a phenomenal guest. And we'll speak to you next week.